Lane going on the 10-day IL. What can you tell us about
Yeah.
his status?
So obviously he came out of the game the other day with a noticeable limp and just wasn't feeling well. It just didn't respond, over the last day and a half, and with 8 days till the break, we're not in a position to play short right now and wait day to day. And we want to give this, the 14, 13 days that we have from now until we come out of the end of the break to really try and knock it out. It's been a frustrating year for Lane. We feel it with him. It's not at all what we want for him, not at all what he wants. It's just the way it's been. And so hopefully with this break, we're able to really get this thing under control so that we can get the best version of Lane.
Speaking of frustrating, do you find yourself in the role of like picking up your coaches, like pumping them up? Because I got to imagine they're wearing it when the offense goes through what they're going through, and
We're all wearing it. I mean, it is. It's frustrating. But the only way to get through frustrating situations is to stay positive and keep working. It doesn't do any good to loathe in negatives or talk about negatives and, moan and complain. Like, that's not productive. What's productive is, what are we doing well? What are we doing? We're doing a lot of things well, and let's keep focusing on that. But we got to keep working to get better. And of course, the coaches are feeling it. If the players are feeling it, everybody is. We're all in this together. This is one group. It's not them or us, we're the Guardians. And so anybody who's here, we're all in this together, and it's going to take all of us to push and keep working. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's gonna turn. It's going to.
How do you resist fighting, trying to make all kinds of changes when you know that you're doing things right?
Because it's baseball. Baseball, you have to just stay consistent. The best players in the world are the best players in the world because they're the same person, the same routines, the same things every single day. And a lot of our guys are still trying to find what that looks like for them. It takes years to figure out how it works for you day to day. So for us, if we just completely ripped up everything we've built, that's reacting to 10 days. That's reacting to 2 weeks when what we've been doing for 3 months is the right things to do. We're just not getting results right now.
In terms of things that have gone well, starting pitching has obviously been very strong. You talked about viewing things as a baseball fan as well from a manager's perspective, but also as a baseball fan. What do you look forward to in today's matchup with Gavin and Tarek?
I mean, you're seeing two guys. I mean, you're seeing the best in the league, obviously, on their side, and then Gavin Williams with some of the best stuff in the league. This is a really exciting. If you like pitching, this is a really fun game to come watch. And the strides that Gavin has made this year, you think about where the beginning of the year was, adding 2 pitches, changing his delivery twice. The adjustments that he's made is super impressive in season. And when Gavin is throwing strikes, when he is attacking the strike zone with all his pitches, he's really tough to hit. And we've just seen that growth over and over and over, it seems. And it's really exciting to see where Gavin's headed.
I know it's Scooble left the end of the mound, but was there any conversation about DeLauder potentially coming up for this?
Yeah, of course. We've been talking about all of our guys in AAA and who can contribute. And really, when we looked at this particular move, Will Wilson provides us versatility defensively. It allows Angel to be able to bounce back and forth from the infield and outfield. And the way our roster has been the last few weeks, we've only had the one extra infielder. And so it's really kept us from being able to make moves. And with Chase specifically, Chase's medical history is a big former in this, so we want to make sure that everything is feeling good, he's ready to go so that he can hit the ground running when he gets here if and when he gets his chance. So we're always talking about our players in AAA who can contribute, where is there a spot open on the roster, things of that nature. And so today it's Will Wilson, and we're excited to see Willie again.
How difficult is that for especially a young guy like Martinez? One day he's at second base, now he might be at center this afternoon. So how difficult is it?
It's very difficult, but Angel can handle it. He had the same role last year, and he learned a lot from it, and our coaching staff does a great job. I mean, Rugi, Kai, JT, they're always talking whenever Angel isn't starting, he's out in the outfield getting reps. So we make sure that all of our guys are practiced and equipped and ready to go. And again, the more positions you can play, the more opportunities for you to play and get into the lineup. And Angel has embraced this role, and he is crushing it. He's been playing great defensively in both spots.
With Angel, he made the play at second base in the first inning yesterday. Was there any other way he could have thrown it, or just just the way the throw went, just
Yeah,
got Roki
I
off?
mean, I've never played second base, so he felt like the glove flip was the best play at that moment. Maybe it wasn't right, perfectly accurate, but he got the out. So I trust our guys to go be baseball players, and he made a baseball play, and we got the out.
Historically, when pitchers aren't getting a lot of offensive run support, they usually default to the same quote, which is that's not something I can control, so I don't focus on that. In your experience, can you think of examples where guys did let that get to them, and what do you look for now as a manager to make sure your guys don't fall into that trap?
What we do is we talk about do your job. You know, I equate everything to my experience, right? So as a catcher, I wasn't a great thrower. I wasn't quick. But if a pitcher was slow to the plate and I tried to be quicker, I'd make a bad throw. I have to make my throw. You just go do your best. You know, and it's up to all of us to do that. So we all have to do our job to the utmost and fullest every day. And when we're all doing that, we're going to see great results. So all the pressure you feel is the pressure you put on yourself. And so you can only do what you can do at your best. And everything else is outside of your control.
So good at playing that wall left. Like that play, was that a GT thing last time with the Torkel?
100%. He works on it every day in batting practice. If you watch him, every time the ball's hit back to the wall, he works on the deke. He works on reading it off the wall. How do I get? And he knows to get his body in a position to make a perfect throw. So besides the diving catches and the running catches in the gap that we see Kwani make, the plays off the wall and keeping that guy from the extra 90 feet, it changes the next hitter's approach, right? You run around second, 2 outs, you're just looking to get a base hit. Or on first 2 outs, you're trying to drive the ball in the gap. So completely changes everything when you keep that guy off a second. That was an unbelievable play.
Is that like that skill set as valuable as like the arm he has? Like, is it all part of the package?
It all plays into it. I mean, just because you don't record an out doesn't mean you didn't make an outstanding defensive play.
I think his first or second year, Dusty Baker like saw that in him right away,
Yeah.
and kept remarking on it how he's so good at making that play.
Yeah, he works on it. That's the thing. All of our defenders, they go out and they practice those things during batting practice, and every rep counts.
So how busy is this time of year for you guys, and also like how exciting is it with just all the process that's going on, all that goes into the process?
Yeah, it's super busy time of the year, as you can imagine. I mean, the draft is about a week away. I think it's important to say the draft, while the next 7 days are going to be pretty intense, it's really a year-long process. Think about this time last year, our scouts were starting to get to know the players for this draft. So a year-long process, scouts doing a lot of work trying to get to know the players on the field, off the field, trying to cast a really wide net. And over the course of the last, call it 11 months, just trying to get to know them as deeply as possible. Now, the last month or month and a half, a lot of meetings, as you could imagine, just trying to review the information we have, closing information gaps to make sure that we know the players really, really well.
So how many selections you guys have in like the top 100 or so? Does that heighten how busy it's been? Does that change anything?
I don't think it necessarily changed anything. I think it probably more invigorating for our scouts and for the organization. We're going to have the opportunity to pick 5 times on night 1. So a really good opportunity to add talent to the organization. I think this draft is relative to maybe the last handful of years, I think it's a deep draft. So when you think about having 5 picks in the top 101, I think our ability to add some quality talent to the organization is exciting.
What do you feel are the strengths and weaknesses of this draft class?
Yeah, I think the strength really is probably just the depth. I think if you were to go and look at some of the publications, I think you would see things like, there are a lot of shortstop options, or college pitching, and those types of things. But I think as we've done our own analysis and gotten to know the players and cast a wide net on the players that could be available for us, I think the thing that stands out is just the depth and our ability to add really good players up and down the draft board. So I think it's a deep draft, and I think it's a well-balanced draft when you think about high school position players, high school arms, college position players, each of those demographics. I think there's going to be a lot of good options everywhere.
Do you have to go off of best available in that first pick, or is there, you go in thinking like we want a bat or we want a pitcher? How does that play out?
Yeah, I think anytime you're picking, it could be whether you're picking first, as we did last year, or 27th. I think we're just trying to bring in the best player that we possibly can. I think it's less about the position and more about our assessment of the player and his fit for the Guardians.
Paul, knowing how this organization values versatility, when you're scouting young players in particular, is it hard to project what kind of versatility a guy may have versus, okay, this kid's playing shortstop, but I could see he has the ability to play third or center field or something like that?
Yeah, great question. I think when you're thinking about a guy who is starting in the middle of the diamond, like you mentioned shortstop, I think, you're evaluating the player at the position he's playing at, but, when you're shortstop, a lot of times those players do have athleticism, coordination, balance, all those types of things, life to their body, twitch, athleticism. So you can envision those players moving around, but at the same time, you're evaluating them at the position they're at. So I think it's something you consider when you're thinking about players and how they might fit in our organization, but the versatility certainly helps.
Well, this question comes from our draft expert on our paper. How has your approach to the draft acquisitions changed based on the current minor league and major league environment? He's referring to the gap between AAA players and the guys in the majors on your current roster.
Yeah, I think when it comes to our acquisition strategy with the draft, I don't think anything's changed. I think the draft is an opportunity to bring in the best complement of players that we can to the organization. So I think, again, we picked 27th this year, and we picked, our bonus pool overall is, a little over $10 million. I think last year we picked first, and our bonus pool was, almost twice that. And I think the overarching strategy and the overarching goal is just, make sure that we're bringing in the best talent and the best complement of players as we possibly can. So I don't think anything's changed.
Did going to 2 days change anything for you guys? I mean, it seems like besides just being a flurry of moves in one, like, how does that work?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've been thinking about and talking about a lot here over the last past couple of weeks. I think the biggest thing is, probably going to be a little bit of lack of sleep here. So probably need to make sure we're considering that. But I think just making sure that we're ultra prepared, because you're not going to have that extra night to sort of take a step back, regroup, and kind of head back into it. So going into the draft, knowing that it is a 2-day draft, some of the things that we want to consider between those days, it's just not going to be available to us. So I think a little extra early preparation and maybe a little less sleep.
In most sports, teams talk about trusting their board and not deviating from it. But we've seen in baseball, like, teams will go for all pitchers or all infielders, especially with the draft going down in rounds. So
Yeah.
how much with baseball is it more based on need than maybe the board?
Yeah, I think baseball is an interesting sport. Maybe relative to call it football or basketball, right? You're seeing teams draft on. If you have a need in position, you draft it. I think baseball, especially when you think about the development timeline of, amateur players, whether it be high school or college, I think the approach that you typically see in baseball is to try to take the best player or the best, group of players that you can bring into the organization, knowing that the development timelines can vary way more than they can in, a sport like, call it football or basketball.
Is it more so based on organizational need too? Because I think like 2-3 years ago, the Angels took all pitchers because they were lacking.
I can't speak for for other organizations. Here, I think we probably consider positional need maybe a little bit later in the draft when we think about just making sure we have opportunities for players and they get the ability to get innings and the ability to get at bats and reps at positions. But overall, I think the goal is just to bring in the best player and the best fits for our organization, regardless of where they play.
Paul, there's always exceptions to the rule, but it seems like it's getting more and more rare for teams to identify a catcher in the draft, develop him, and get him to the big leagues as a catcher. More and more of those guys end up being guys that move into that position through player development. Is that something that scouts look at, or is that something you kick that down the road and let the PD guys work on that when that time comes?
Yeah, so you mean it's just in terms of moving off the catcher position, basically?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think catching is a hard one to evaluate. If I'm being honest, catching is the demands of that position. The durability that you have to have, ability to manage staff, manage games, those types of things. But I think the way we're evaluating it is like, to your point, bring a guy in, evaluate him to the best of your ability, and let him develop. And if he needs to move off at some point, then so be it. But I think when we're, bringing guys in as catchers, I think we're, hopefully looking at them to remain in the position.
I guess the inverse is also true. You could bring a guy in at a different position, but if he has the mindset and the mental makeup, you could see him transitioning to catcher. I guess my question was, do you see that in scouting, or is that something that the player development guys see maybe 2 years into the system?
I think you can see it in scouting. Yeah, and probably a little bit of both. Just like anything. I mean, I think you take a guy like Cooper Engel, right, who we drafted at Clemson, who was playing multiple positions, had caught some. We brought him into the organization and drafted him with the intention of him being a catcher, and he's done quite well. A lot of that has to do with the things you mentioned, like his makeup, his mindset. He wants to catch. He wants to be good. So I think it's probably a little bit of both.
How excited are you now to find that compensation pick for Josh Naylor to use that? And where does that fall? What pick will that be?
Yeah, so we picked 27, of course, and then 64 is a second round pick. 66 is our Comp B pick, and 70 is the pick that we got from Arizona. So to answer your question, like, really excited. It's especially thinking about the depth of this draft. Anytime we have the opportunity to add a pick and also add that draft capital to our bonus pool, it's really exciting because it's another opportunity to add a talented player to the organization. So super excited. I know our scouts are really excited. They get another bite at the apple, so to speak.